Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar on how to improve your email marketing using Dynamicweb. My name is Christian and together with Kasper I will take you through this presentation about email marketing in Dynamicweb. The agenda today will be first to give an introduction to Dynamicweb, then we will look at what benefits you will actually receive from having an integrated email marketing solution like Dynamicweb. We'll go through a live demo and we'll get back to how you actually can get started by using Dynamicweb as email marketing. But before going into that, I'll just make a short promotion here for our next webinar, which will be August 12th, where we'll look at e-commerce email marketing. And for those of you running an e-commerce store, here's a lot of interesting stuff that you definitely should look into. But going back to the agenda, today is basically an introduction to Dynamicweb for those who doesn't know us. We are a Danish-based company founded in 1999. We are present in most countries around the globe, and we have 200 local partners so that our customers always can get local support and service wherever they are in the world. Currently we have more than 4,000 customers using Dynamicweb. And the platform and product they're using is what we call our all-in-one business platform. And the unique thing with Dynamicweb is that you have content management and you have e-commerce and you have online marketing all together in the same platform. That makes it easier for you to personalize your content and deliver personalized messages through all of your channels, whether it's mobile devices, whether it's desktop, whether it's non-web related thing, or whether it's social media and email marketing. Everything can be delivered from Dynamicweb with the same consistent data. And of course you can customize Dynamicweb and integrate it with your back office system, so you can combine online data and offline data which might come from your ERP system. What we will look at today is the marketing part of Dynamicweb, and especially the email marketing platform. Digging more into the email marketing, and an important thing about the integrated part is that you can actually benefit from it. Most customers today, they have a scenario like we see here on the right, where they have a content management system and they have an email platform. And every time that they would like to send a newsletter, they need to copy paste content from their content management system and images, etc., and move them manually to the email marketing system. Then they need to import users and do a lot of manual work back and forth in order to be able to send an email. Using Dynamicweb, you have your users, you have your email marketing tool in the same platform, making it much easier for you to do so and making you more efficient. And we actually talked to a customer about how much efficiency you can gain from that. And this customer is sending 2 emails every month, so making it 25 emails a year. And they saved a lot of time because they didn't need it to update users in different systems. They didn't need it to check content, to create content several times. And of course this customer is using e-commerce, which is more complex than executing a normal basic newsletter. But anyway, this customer actually saved more than 100 hours a year using Dynamicweb because they didn't needed to do all this manual work, and this 108 hours in this case can actually be used on more valuable work and maybe even creating more newsletters. And those you who work with newsletters know that newsletters actually will raise the revenue in the business. So this is very interesting and definitely something you should consider. This was basically the introduction, leading to the live demonstration. And I will just show you and switch browser window here. So going into the Dynamicweb administration, it's a web page, it's a browser I'm in now, and I can see all of my website content here. And the example that we would like to show you today is how you have content in Dynamicweb and how you actually can send that content to specific users in your solution. And the first thing is here that you see we have a content tree. We have some pages on the website and we have some folders. And in my newsletter structure, newsletters 2015, I have a page called Invitation to Webinar. And the Invitation to Webinar page consists of these different paragraphs, which is basically a normal page in Dynamicweb. So you have an editor-friendly environment where you actually can write your text and set in your images. And when you're done so, you can send this email out to the recipients you like to. And you can of course choose the show page to have a preview of the page, and you can see we have chosen a template here that adapts well to email. So this was basically the introduction, and I'll leave it to Casper to show you how you actually can send this page out to the recipients you like.
Hello everyone, my name is Casper, and I'll spend the next couple of minutes demonstrating some of the tools I use for sending out newsletters in Dynamicweb. But let's get started by creating a new email, and to do so I go to the marketing section in Dynamicweb, go to email marketing, and I right click the subfolder called Dynamicweb email marketing and hit create new email. The first thing I'm asked to do is to provide a subject to my newsletter. And if we continue using the same email as Christian previously showed you, which was basically an invitation to new webinars, we could write something like get free inspiration and knowledge, join our webinars. So I hit OK, and then I am taken to the actual newsletter setup screen. And as you can see, the first thing I see is the subject, which I just provided. And the first thing I can do is actually to make it even more relevant and targeted by adding a so-called email tag. And from the list I have a whole range of different options. I can choose between the recipient's name, address, city, zip code, country, etc. But if I choose a name for this particular purpose and hit OK, you can see that it now says Casper, get free inspiration and knowledge, join our webinars. The next thing I have to do is to pick out my recipients. And as you can see on the right side of the menu, I have some different options. I can either pick individual and specific recipients manually. I can choose a whole group. That could be, for instance, my colleagues here at Dynamicweb. Or I can use a so-called smart search. And the smart search really comes in handy for targeting and segmenting all your recipients. And as you can see from our own smart search list, we've divided all our current recipients into 4 primary groups. We have current customers, potential customers, current partners, and potential partners. And then we've divided each of the groups according to the country they come from. You can also take the smart search a step further. Here's an example from our Danish customers where we have divided them into 2 groups. The first one is customers located in the western part of the country, and the second one are the customers located in the eastern part of the country. So this makes it really easy for me when sending out newsletters to target certain and specific recipients. For instance, if we are inviting to a seminar in Copenhagen, I would of course target all our customers living in the eastern part of the country. Before I proceed, I would just like to show you how simple and easy it is to set up a smart search like this. So if I right click on Danish customers, for instance, you can see that I've told my smart search I want the parent country to be Denmark. The email address should contain something, it cannot be empty. The email permission should be set to allowed, and the parent category should be customers, so no potential customers in this relation, only customers. So if I pick, for instance, let's say our Dutch partners, you can see that I have 48 recipients, which also mentioned in the text below. That is because I set the permission in the smart search to allow, meaning that I only send to recipients who allow me to send them newsletters. If that is not included in the smart search, or if I send to individual specific users or user groups instead, then the number would automatically update according to who I can send to, who have unsubscribed, etc. And the system automatically updates these lists accordingly, so I don't have to worry about that when sending out newsletters. Next thing I have to do is to pick out the from name, the from email, and I can also add a pre-header. In this case it could be webinars Dynamicweb. Then I simply have to pick the page I want to send out before I'm ready to actually execute the newsletter. There I go to newsletters, I go to newsletters 2015, May, and I choose the same page as Christian previously showed you, called Invitation to Webinars. Now I'm basically ready to send out my newsletter. I can hit send it right away, or I can schedule the newsletter. The advantage of scheduling is clearly that I can spend, let's say, 2-3 hours once a week preparing newsletters for the entire week, and then simply schedule them and then let the system send them out automatically. So I'm not depending on time and place. I can simply prepare the newsletters whenever I feel for it. So I can either schedule or I can send it out right away. Another really efficient tool is the so-called split test. And the split test, as you probably know, is really efficient for identifying the content that converts the best. So instead of discussing with yourself or with your colleagues what kind of setup in your newsletter, what kind of content, header, etc. works the best, you can simply let your recipients decide. So we create a split test, which is basically a copy of the original email, but now I have the chance to alter the content and the phrasing. For instance, you can see that in the subject field I've decided to skip the so-called email tag. So where it said in the original, Casper, get free inspiration and knowledge, join our webinars, it now only says get free inspiration and knowledge, join our webinars. Then finally I can pick the same page if I only want to alter the heading, or I can choose another page with a different setup, with different headers and different sections. When I'm ready and I feel confident that I have two versions capable of converting, I hit Setup Split Test. And as you can see, it gives me a whole range of different options that I need to decide on before initiating. The first thing is the amount of recipients I want to send the split test to, and that is, for instance, 10% of half of all my recipients, meaning that first you send out your email to half of your recipients performing the split test, and then you send the best converting, being the winner, the best converting email, to the rest of your recipients. Then there's a conversion goal. I can determine whether it should be best engagement, most opened, or most clicked. In this instance, I prefer most clicks, so I'll pick that one. When do I wish to start the test? I can start it right away, or I can schedule it as you saw previously. And I can tell the system that I want to pick the winner after a certain number of hours at a given time, or manually. If I decide to pick a winner after, let's say, 24 hours, I can simply tell the system to notify me as soon as the winner has been found. I do that by typing in my email and adding it to the list, and then hit Start Split Test. So when I've sent out all my emails, they automatically go to the sent folder. By clicking on it, you can see that I gain complete access to all the information on each individual newsletter that I've sent out. So for instance, by picking, let's choose this one for the sake of demonstrating, you can see that I've sent out a total of 978 emails. The opening rate is 23.21%, and I have a total click rate of 5.29%. In the list below, you can see that I have specific and individual information on all the recipients, so I can see exactly what they looked at, whether they opened, whether they unsubscribed, and what information they found interesting. So one of the last things I want to show you before going back to the presentation is the ability to resend a newsletter, which is actually quite simple in Dynamicweb. If we stick to the same email, you can see that by right clicking and hitting resend to, I can send it to unresponsive recipients, basically meaning that all the people who still haven't opened my email will now get another edition. I can either send out the same setup, the same content, the same subject, or I can alter it if, for instance, some of the content has been outdated in the meantime, meaning that if a webinar has already been completed, I can remove it from the newsletter, and I can alter the heading accordingly. So when I feel satisfied and ready to resend, I simply hit send, or I schedule as I previously showed you. And that was about all the tools in a brief presentation. Let's head back to the presentation, just to get a brief recap of what we've accomplished in only a couple of minutes. We have created a new site with different paragraphs, text and images. We have identified specific and relevant receivers. We've performed a split test, and we have sent out the newsletter.
So thank you, Casper, for the presentation. And what I would like to share now is how you actually get started with this and how the investment is. And if you look at it, you might have the all-in-one platform already today, and if you have it, the license is actually included. If you don't have the all-in-one license, have one of our old licenses, you can buy it as email marketing as a module, or you could of course consider upgrading to the all-in-one platform and get all the email marketing capabilities that are ready for you there. If you're using the module, there's a subscriber-based license model, so you actually pay based on how many users and your usage of the module. If you have any questions for that, you can of course always contact Dynamicweb. We can provide you with a demo solution so you can try it out. You can get it activated on your own solution together with either Dynamicweb or your local partner who can help you do the implementation. So I guess that was the topic for today's webinar. If any of you have any questions, feel free to type them to us. Otherwise, we will share the webinar at dynamicweb.com webinars, so you can get back and watch the webinar and maybe share it with some of your colleagues or whoever would like to watch it. So if you don't have any more questions now, I think we would like to say thank you for listening and goodbye. Thank you.